we are taking a look at the Broncos Alpha Dogs. Welcome in everybody to Broncos Countdown to Camp. I'm Matt Boyer, joined by Phil Milani, Andrew Mason, and guys, we're talking leadership. With just a couple of days left until the beginning of training camp, where do you guys see the leaders coming from? Obviously, names like Von Miller and TJ Ward, Aqib Talib, those names come to mind, but where do you guys see leadership on this squad?
Let's start defensively. You mentioned Von Miller, Aqib Talib. You know, Chris Harris Jr., he's been with the team for 7 years. He's growing as a leader. TJ Ward, a lot of guys look to him. You know, Brandon Marshall among the linebackers, he's actually in a very unique spot because on a play-to-play basis, he's the one that's in command of the huddle. He's the one who's got the radio receiver in his helmet, and he's really stepped up over the course of this off-season and has really shown his leadership ability.
Boy, Brandon Marshall did a great job there knocking the ball away from the tight end Clive Walford.
This is a team that lost DeMarcus Ware in the offseason. Phil, where do you see that role being filled? Is it Vaughn? Is it Shane? Is it somebody on the ends?
Well, I think one thing we've heard from Vance Joseph is guys naturally gravitate toward leaders, and that's been Von Miller so far during the offseason. We've seen that. We've seen guys go over to Von's house, they hang out with him, and he's been through a lot in his career to the point where he could say, don't make the same mistakes that I've made. Don't go through what I did. And I think he soaked in a lot from DeMarcus Ware, and now he can turn that around and teach some of these younger guys. And then on the offensive side of the ball, like May said, the quarterback I think needs to be that leader, but also Demaryius Thomas. He's been challenged by head coach Vance Joseph. He wants him to really step it up. He wants him to show it on the field by being that aggressive player on the outside. He leads by example, but he also has challenged Thomas to be more of that vocal leader and step outside of his comfort zone.
And that'll be interesting because, I mean, the leadership by example I think Demaryius Thomas has had for a long time, but being a vocal leader, we'll see. Not everyone has the vocal leader.
It's not natural to
Yeah,
him.
exactly. And the leadership has to be natural to your personality. And maybe Demaryius Thomas is more of a leader by example. And maybe the more vocal leader could be a guy like Emmanuel Sanders, who's shown signs of having that vocal leadership. And then another guy to watch as far as an offensive leader is Matt Paradis once he gets back in there.
How important is it for your quarterbacks to be those outspoken leaders? Because now we've got two quarterbacks, Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian, both have more years underneath their belts. How important is it for them to now take a leadership role? Is it important because we just mentioned a lot of guys on the offensive side of the ball who are already leaders?
Yeah, but I think that the quarterback needs to be that guy because in the huddle, there's one guy talking. That's the quarterback. There's a guy, you know, like you're down in the game, you're in the huddle. Hey, we can do this. We can go down the field. That needs to come from your quarterback. And I think at times last year, yeah, Trevor was the guy, but there were some injury concerns. Paxton came in. There wasn't that one guy on offense where you'll say, hey, that's our guy. Back off us. We have faith in him. And I think that that's something that comes with a quarterback competition. You don't have that one guy you can just lean on.
Yeah, I think that eventually you're going to find that guy, but that's the downside of a competition is that you're not having that one leader at quarterback develop, but at the same time, you're putting that quarterback into a pressure situation on a daily basis during training camp that I think the leadership qualities are going to come out naturally.
I need one name from each of you guys, somebody who we haven't heard yet, who is a leader on this team, but maybe the fans don't know about because they're not, I mean, obviously we see it on a day-to-day basis, but somebody who exemplifies leadership that maybe we haven't heard a lot about.
Maybe like a guy who's new to the building, Jamal Charles. He's a veteran presence there. I think guys know what he's capable of, so they sort of look up to him. And especially in the running backs room, I think that Jamal Charles might be that voice there.
Domata Peko. I mean, he's been a captain in Cincinnati for I think the last 8-9 seasons, and one of the reasons that the Broncos brought him in, not only to was it about getting bigger on the defensive line, it was also about bringing in his leadership. Vance Joseph, as a defensive backs coach in Cincinnati, saw that firsthand and is counting on Domata Peko to bring that leadership and help bring that defense together.
And I was going to say, another thing that we've seen is Vance Joseph likes those truth t-shirts. There's not going to be any of this like mick-muck back and forth, talking about other guys, that kind of thing. He keeps it real, and I think that when you have a leader like that at the head coach position, it carries through the team.
These three guys always keep it real. Always,
That's true.
Always keep it
too real.
Speaking of leaders, we covered the players. On our next episode, we're going to talk about the coaching staff. A lot of different faces this year. We're going to tell you about what some of those changes mean. But until then, I'm Matt Boyer for Phil Milani, Andrew Mason. This has been Broncos TV Countdown to Camp.